champion. NBA playoffs coverage continues on TNT, presented by State Farm.
We are back on Get Up, and let's run the floor through the two NBA games that we saw last night. The Bucks are 2 games away from advancing to the next round. They tied a playoff record, 10 threes in the first quarter, and they really never looked back, crushing the Heat, 132-98. Giannis had 31. Bryn Forbes, a free agent they signed in the offseason, had 6 threes, finished with 22, so they take a 2-0 lead over the Heat. Giannis was having fun. Game 2, Nuggets and Blazers, both superstars showed up. Dame Lillard and Nikola Jokic. The Joker would prevail, with the Nuggets winning 128-109. Lillard led the game with 42, 32 of those in the first half. Jokic had 38. So that series is now tied at a game apiece. And tonight, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers will look to bounce back from their disappointing Game 1 loss to the Suns on Sunday. LeBron and AD were held to a combined 31 points, and it is a quick turnaround. I mean, there were some series that were played on Saturday, Sunday. Some are getting pushed back, and here we go. They get a quick turnaround here, so a big game tonight, and here's exactly the right man to break it down for us. Jalen Rose gets up with us here. All right, Jalen, give me exactly what the Lakers need to do to even the series tonight.
Did you say LeBron James and Anthony Davis combined for 31 points?
That's right.
It'd be nice if each of them have 31 points. That would be really helpful. And you probably could call it karma that LeBron didn't get suspended or punished by the league for his COVID violation. But either way, you got to give the Phoenix Suns a ton of credit, in particular Devin Booker, because Chris Paul was dealing with a shoulder injury. It was his first playoff game, and he was fantastic in all phases, shooting a 3, playing in transition. And how about the big fella DeAndre Ayton putting up a big-time double-double, outplaying Anthony Davis? So for the Lakers, Anthony Davis can't be allergic to the paint. You see that colored area on the floor? He needs to be dominant in that area for the Los Angeles Lakers. And LeBron needs to play all NBA, MVP-level basketball. Yes, the Lakers have a lot of depth, but this is about their superstars, because the big names for the Phoenix Suns showed up in Game 1, and it seems like Chris Paul is going to be hobbled for the remainder of this series.
All right, so it feels like a big night tonight for the Lakers. We will also see the Nets and the Celtics play Game 2, Jay, and it's a small sample size, obviously, one game on Saturday night, but I mean, the entirety of Brooklyn's Big Three is a small sample size. What did you see from them in that game as far as what your expectation is for this team going through this playoff run?
I don't like to do the shoulda, woulda, coulda, but as I was watching the game, and the Nets' Big Three were fantastic once they got going. Kevin Durant's had his periods where he was getting caught on switches, in particular with Tristan Thompson or whoever going one-on-one. You see Kyrie Irving against Kemba Walker, and obviously James Harden had their moments. But as I was watching the game, I was thinking, if Jaylen Brown was playing, Celtics would have won Game 1. And why do I say that? The Nets will tell you, they need to be better. They need to be more cohesive. They need to play with more chemistry on offense. So many possessions, 2 passes or less for the person who gets the ball, who shoots the ball. Now, that's great when you have these 3 terrific offensive weapons, but that means it's a make or miss game at that point.
And then I want to talk about the Bucks. We just showed their highlight. I mean, they were unbelievable last night. And it feels like the East has a big 3 with Philly and the Nets and Milwaukee. And Big Perk was on the show an hour ago saying he likes the Bucks to win the East. Jalen Rose, what do you think?
Big Perk is a smart man, because if you ask me to pick between the Bucks and the Nets today, I would take the Bucks also. And just like playing in the NCAA tournament, you're going to play against a lot of different teams. You need to play at a lot of different styles. The same with the NBA. That's why the best team normally wins a 7-game series. And the Bucks have shown me that they can win in a multitude of ways. Chris Middleton has developed himself into a legit clutch performer. Drew Holiday is an improvement at the point defensively and with his shot making. Giannis improved all around, in particular his passing and his playmaking. He's still going to be dominant when you need him to be to give you 30. Brook Lopez is one of the best rim protectors we have in the league, and he can also post up. And then you have wild cards like Bobby Portis. Last night it was Forbes. They're a complete team. They've been together for the most part as a group the last few years, and I like that team dynamic. So if I needed to pick that series today, I would pick the Milwaukee Bucks to beat the Nets.
That's fascinating. And again, it's worth pointing out that would be a second-round series. The Sixers, by winning the East, they sort of have their side of the bracket with the Knicks and the Hawks, and it would be Milwaukee and Brooklyn next. All right, to change the subject completely, Jalen, and this is something that you and I have talked about so much for now exactly 1 year. Today marks the one-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. On Monday, NBA's Social Justice Coalition released a statement calling on the U.S. Senate to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act as a way to honor the memory of George Floyd. And Jalen, you and I feel like we have had so many discussions about this over the course of now exactly 1 year. And I don't know anyone who has spoken more eloquently on this subject here or anywhere than you have. And so as we mark the 1 year anniversary of it, I'd like to get your thoughts. We know where we've been now. Where do you feel we are, and where do you believe we need to go from here?
Yes, Greeny, it's a 1 year memorial. It's a 1 year reminder that we've come so far, but yet we still have very far to go. And in that lead-in, you said it, past the George Floyd Policing Act. We continue to see instances where people are murdered by law enforcement, and they falsified the report. And that hasn't changed. And so we need now, as this anniversary happens in sports, to take the time, and this is what I've done with the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. In sports, the Pistons owner, Tom Gores, the Miami Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, I'm working with them to expand our facility. We took over an elementary school that converted into a high school, and now we're helping college-age students as well. So if you remember back this year, a year ago, there wasn't any sports. And the NBA and the WNBA were really pivotal in how society moved, because that was a point where the NBA decided to put Black Lives Matter on the floor. There were 29 messages on the back of the NBA players' jerseys, and also the WNBA players had Breonna Taylor's name on the back of their jerseys. Like, those were seminal moments in sports, that, and the gravity of that permeated in society. And the Bucks that we just talked about also were a team that took the lead and all of a sudden didn't play in the game so they could try to affect legislation in their community. So over this year, we've seen people understand the power of their vote and how important it is to get out and vote in local elections and obviously the presidential elections. But again, we still have to make a lot of progress. But the one thing I want to make sure that gets owned is there needs to be severe discipline for police officers that falsify police reports. That happened in the Breonna Taylor case, it happened in the George Floyd case, and it happens in way too many cases.
It's Jalen Rose again. We've talked about this for a year now, and we'll continue to talk about it as long as we need to. Thank you so much, my friend. As always, we will see you later. Enjoy the games tonight. Obviously, there are the things that really matter, and then there is the fun that we have, and we will go back to that as we continue.